Do you love creating fun folds that really wow? I know I do, and this one has been one of my favorites. I love this one, guys. It's so easy to create. Are you ready to learn how? Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so glad you could join me for today's Tuesday tip. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to create an amazing pop-out wow card. We're going to start with this wonderful one created with the painted lavender and the perennial lavender designer series paper. Let's go ahead and talk about what you need to create this card. Before I go over all the measurements, I do want you to know there is a free download that goes along with today's video, and that's going to have photos of the projects, all of the measurements. Don't worry, you're good there. I've even got all the supplies that I use, so if you'd like to recreate it like mine, of course I encourage you to use what you have. If you need to come back and watch the video, you can always come back right here. You can click or scan the QR code. It'll take you back to my video if you need a little refresher. And of course, if you are in the United States and are looking for a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be yours. Click right there and you'll see all the supplies I used on my card. Now, this project sheet does also have a free diagram for your designer series paper. This free download is available for you at SimplySimpleStamping.com, or you can look down in the YouTube description. I'll have a direct link to where you can grab that. We're going to start with a piece of Highland Heather cardstock, and this is cut 5 1/4 by 11 inches. Now, I have some score lines you're going to want to add. And with the 11 inches of the cardstock up at the top, first, let's make sure our cutting blade is out of the way. We're going to score at 1 3/4, 3 1/2, 5 1/4, and now I'll swing my arm out there and we'll get 7 inches. Now, while we've got our paper trimmer out, we're going to do this creative cutting. Don't let it intimidate you. It's very easy to do. I'm going to rotate my cardstock. So there's the 1 3/4 inch score line. All right, I've got the 5 1/4 up here at the top. We're going to bring that over to 1 1/4. And I'm going to cut in between the first score line and the third score line. So you're not going to come all the way over to that fourth one, in between score line 1 and 3. And to do that, I'm going to take my cutting blade and I'm going to line up the tick mark right here with that score line. Now, I do also want to point out that there are measurements here on the side of the arm. So if you'll just look for that 1 3/4, that's going to help you as well. Now we are going to cut down to 5 1/4 right here. So we'll go from 1 3/4, slide down to the 5 1/4. All right. Now we're going to flip it over. We're going to do that same thing again. So I will take that to the 1 3/4. And I'll cut down to the 5 1/4. That's what's going to create that great little pop out. Guys, that wasn't hard at all. I know you can do it. Let's go ahead and fold this cardstock. So I'm going to fold, that will be my 4 inches, and you'll burnish that with your bone folder. Now let's accordion fold back and burnish, accordion fold again, and burnish, accordion fold again. All right, this is what we have. Now this is the clever part. See our little pop-up? I'm just going to grab that, okay? Can you see how I'm just grabbing it? And I'm going to fold that going the opposite direction. You see how it just comes right into place, all right? So that pop-up was in, and now it's out, okay? That is the key to creating the pop-up. Pretty simple, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and we are going to start working on the designer series paper. And I'm going to use the perennial lavender designer series paper. You're going to want a piece of 6 by 6. And this, you want your pattern going this direction. Okay, we want it in a vertical position. Now, if your pattern is very random, guess what? You don't even need to worry about it. But we do want our pattern going this direction. So make sure it's in the vertical position. So the first cut, it says right here, we need 4 pieces that are 1 1/2 by 6. Okay. Now we're going to take 2 of those pieces and we're going to cut them down 1 1/2 by 5. I'm going to go ahead and set those right there. I know those are good. Now we're going to take one and we're going to cut this one into 4 pieces that are 1 inch. So it's already 1.5. So let's cut 4 1 inch by 1.5 inch pieces. All right, I have those. My last one, we're going to cut this down 1.25 by 2.25. So let's go ahead, we'll just go ahead and do our 2.25 and then at 1.25 because we need it just a little bit smaller. That is all we need to do for our designer series paper. All right, it's time to add that paper to our card. Now remember, I had some directional designer series paper, so I want to make sure my pattern is going vertical. So there's one. I'm going to skip over 2 panels because remember that's where our pop-up is. So let's, whoops, see, I almost did it upside down. Let's focus. I'm going to put another piece of designer series paper on that panel. And now you can see these 4 panels. Yep, that's where these pieces will go. All right, so you should have a border all around your pop-up. This piece, let's hold on to it because we're going to do a little layer with that one. So how about we go ahead and do that? I'm going to accent my card with some gorgeous grape. I have a 2.5 by 2.5 and a 1.5 by 2.5. And these are going to go right here. Do you see how this one's coming off? Yep, that's what I need it to do. You can see I'm centering it up here on the 3 sides of the Highland Heather. We'll put that there. I'm going to take this piece and we'll add it to our other panel. So on that 1.25 by 2.25, you could, if you wanted, you could go ahead and add that pattern side, but you know what? I really loved the other side of this. I thought it was just a really great pop of that green. So I'm going to add this right there on my card. All right, so we're going to have a sentiment here, and we're also going to have a card over here, and that's going to be in crumb cake. This is a 5 by 7.5. I have it scored in half at 3 3/4, and that's going to go right here. Now, I could leave it like that, but I wanted to zhuzh it up a little bit. I'm going to bring in the time-worn typed embossing folder. I'm going to open up my crumb cake card. I'm just going to line up the edge of my score line right there with the edge of my embossing folder. I'm going to take base plate 1. I'm going to lay my embossing folder here and top it with embossing plate 4. Let's run that through the machine. And that's going to give it just that extra touch. All right, friends, it's time to do some stamping. We're going to use 2 different stamp sets today. I'm going to start with painted lavender, but you notice there are no sentiments in this set. So I decided to bring in the Hope You Know. Feel free to use whatever sentiment you love, but I thought this one right here said it all. I've got a 2.25 by 2.25 crumb cake. I'm going to bring in a gorgeous grape ink pad, and I am going to stamp my sentiment right in the center of that. Now I'm going to give it just a little bit of an extra background, and I'm going to do that with a Lost Lagoon ink pad. And I thought this little leafy image would look nice, but let me show you something when I ink this up. That's pretty dark. So I stamped off once, and now I can stamp that in the background. See how it's just really nice and subtle? I liked that. I'm going to bring in my card. We will add our sentiment there. Let's do a little stamping here on the crumb cake. And this time we're going to bring in that fabulous lavender back in with the gorgeous grape. And I've got a technique that we're going to do on this one. So I'm going to stamp the lavender once. I'm going to rotate my stamp without re-inking to the left, and now again to the right. See, it just kind of gives it some really nice detail. And I wanted to tie in a little bit more of that Lost Lagoon, so how about just a couple of Lost Lagoon butterflies? We're going to add our stamped card. This, of course, will be where you write your message. That's going to go inside my card. Now I've got one more layer. Now this one's optional, but I got to tell you, I love it. I have a 4.25 by 5.5 gorgeous grape. And look what happens when I add that card with that extra background. I think it's beautiful. Feel free to use that. Or as I said, it's an optional layer, but oh my gosh, isn't it beautiful? Okay, we're going to add one more thing. I think every card deserves a little embellishment. I wanted to bring in some linen thread. It just went along so well with that crumb cake. I'm going to take a mini glue dot, and because a linen thread bow has such a tiny center to it, I got to turn this mini glue dot into a little tiny glue dot. So now we can press our linen thread bow right there. I sometimes just like to press on it a few times until I'm not feeling any more sticky. And friends, there we go. Great card, beautiful, different, and that wasn't too bad, right? It was easy. Okay, I want to share another card with you. Don't forget to grab your free download and diagram. You'll find that at simplysimplestamping.com, or you can look down in the YouTube description for a direct link. And this one, I went a little more whimsical, and I did a really great thanks card. Guys, everything went together in the exact same way. I'm using Flirty Flamingo as my card base. That background piece, I did that in Pool Party, along with Pool Party here and here. You see my designer series paper. That is a piece of 6x6 glorious gingham, and that is in Lemon Lime Twist. Such a fun color. And so that is why I chose Lemon Lime Twist here for my card. What I want to teach you is how I did my background here. Again, I wanted to say thanks, friend, but I have many, many thanks going on here. The card's going to be put together in the same way. Let me just show you this little tip. So remember our crumb cake, we did embossing. This time we are going to stamp. And I have got, this is the same measurement, by the way. That was 5 inches by 7.5, scored at 3 3/4. My sentiment came from Biggest Wish. This is one of my favorite stamp sets to use. I love that. We're going to use this thanks right here and a Lemon Lime Twist ink pad. I'm going to put that grid paper underneath me again, just because I'm sure I'm going to be stamping off the card. So my tip is this: start at an angle, right in the middle. Can't go wrong. So we will start there. Give yourself maybe about 1/2 inch before you stamp one to the right and then again to the left. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in between. Can you see how I just staggered those? And guys, we're going to do this again, leaving about 1/2 inch in between. All right, now let's do it up here. So again, just stagger. And guys, all we're going to do is keep stamping until we have our card filled with lots of thanks. Pretty easy, wasn't it? Now I'm going to give you another little tip. Let's say you just really messed up. It was a hot mess. If you will flip it over, you can do it again. The inside of your card's still good. They'll never see this, remember, because it's adhered down to the inside of your card. So how do I know this? Because I messed up on mine and had to stamp it again. You know, it's a technique I haven't used in a long time. So I did just another quick take 2, but no one will ever see that. You can see here I stamped thanks friend in that Lemon Lime Twist and a little Flirty Flamingo. I added a parakeet party. That's some baker's twine. Guys, such a fun card. Little thanks on the inside. That is a great way to say thank you. No matter what sentiment you use, these cards, whether you want something a little more elegant, a little bit nicer, or you want to go whimsy, have some fun with the stamps and the designer series paper you have. And friends, go create yourself some amazing pop-out fun fold cards. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I would love a thumbs up on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. I always appreciate it. And hey, if you have not subscribed, why not click the subscribe button so YouTube can let you know whenever I'm back with a new video. We'd love to have you join us. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Can't wait to stamp with you guys next time. Bye-bye.